We all tell stories, right? Every single day. Right? You won't believe what happened to me, or guess what I saw on the way here. Stories are everywhere. So, what's the difference? Why are some tales totally forgettable while others stick with us for, ever? Well, according to our source for this explainer, it's not some kind of magic. It's all about the mechanics. We are diving deep into The Anatomy of a Story by John Truby, who is this legendary script doctor. He's analyzed thousands of stories, and his big idea is that great stories aren't just happy accidents. Nope, they are machines built very precisely to give us a huge emotional experience. So what's the deal? Is there some secret formula, a special ingredient? Truby is pretty clear. Yes, there is. And to show us how it works, we're going to put one of the most famous stories of all time on the operating table. It's a story almost everyone knows, which makes it the perfect patient for our little dissection.
Okay, so the first big idea from Truby is this. Great stories aren't just, a list of things that happen. They're more like living things, and they're designed to do one primary thing: to force the main character to face their biggest flaws and to change.
And the story we're going to put under the microscope is the original Star Wars. By following this young farm boy who's trying to save the galaxy, we're going to uncover the hidden architecture, the blueprint that's made this story a legend for decades.
All right, let's get right to the heart of this machine. According to Truby, the most important part of any story is what drives it, its engine. And that engine is powered by this fundamental difference that he says most writers completely miss. First up, every hero has a desire. This is the external goal, the thing that they think they want. For our hero, Luke Skywalker, it's super obvious. He wants to get off his dusty farm, become a pilot, and, blow up the Death Star. This desire is what moves the plot forward. It's the action part of the story.
But underneath that surface-level desire is something way, way more important: the hero's need. This is their deep, internal, and often unconscious weakness. It's the flaw they have to conquer if they're going to grow as a person. Luke's great need is to stop being this whiny, impatient kid and become a real hero who believes in something bigger than himself. Truby says that confusing the desire and the need is one of the single biggest mistakes a storyteller can make.
So think of it like this. You've got two tracks running at the same time. The desire, that's the plot, the stuff you see happening on screen. But the need, that's the character's journey. That's what gives the story its meaning and makes it stick with you. Okay, so the hero has this internal flaw, this need. But how do you actually force them to face it? Well, a hero can't just change in a vacuum. A great story isn't a solo act. It's about how every single person around the hero is put there for a reason.
Truby calls this the character web, and it's this idea that no character is there by accident. Seriously, each one is strategically designed to put pressure on the hero's central weakness, but from a different direction. They're not just sidekicks or villains, they're more like tools, all designed to help shape the hero.
And wow, to see just how powerful this is, let's look at a totally different movie, The Silence of the Lambs. Every character here is defined by how they relate to Clarice and her big weakness. You've got Buffalo Bill, the obvious bad guy. But the real genius here is Hannibal Lecter. He's what Truby calls a false opponent. He looks like an enemy, but he's actually the one who forces her to grow the most.
Now let's apply this back to Star Wars. You can see this web everywhere. Darth Vader isn't just a bad guy in a cool helmet. He's the embodiment of what Luke could become if he fails. And Han Solo? He's not just a wisecracking sidekick. He's a mirror. His journey from being totally selfish to becoming a hero forces us to watch Luke's own internal fight even more closely. So we've got the hero's desire and their need. We have this whole web of characters pushing and pulling at them. Where does this all lead? It all builds to one single critical moment. It's the final choice the hero makes that proves they've actually changed. So Truby says that a weak story ends with a really obvious choice, good versus evil. Duh, pick good. But a truly powerful story, it forces the hero into a real dilemma, a choice between two things that are both good. It's not about right versus wrong. It's about choosing between, say, love and honor, or your own safety versus doing the right thing for everyone else. That's tough.
This right here. This is the hero's final exam. Think about Luke in the trench of the Death Star. He has a choice. He can use his targeting computer, which is all about technology,
That's his desire talking. Or he can turn it off and use the Force. That's a huge leap of faith that directly answers his need to trust in something bigger. And when he switches it off, that action proves it. He's finally become a true hero.
And with that, you've basically been handed a pair of story X-ray goggles. You can now look right past the surface-level plot of any story, the explosions, the romances, and you can see the hidden skeleton underneath that makes the whole thing work.
This is the secret formula. It's a simple but incredibly powerful framework that you will find in almost every single story you love, whether it's The Godfather or the latest blockbuster. A hero's deep internal need, a web of characters built to test that need, and a true moral choice at the end that proves they've overcome it.
So, I'm going to leave you with a challenge. Next time you're watching a movie or reading a book, ask yourself this one question. Try to look past what the hero wants to do and figure out what they truly need to become. I promise you, once you start looking for it, you will never experience stories the same way again.